Welcome to the Module 3 of the book Nigerian Peoples and Culture. This material is from National Open University of Nigeria. My name is Dan Asukwo, your instructor. If you are a NOUN student or from any other universities, this will be very useful for you. Do well to share with others as well as on your study groups. If this is your first time of coming across our videos, why not do well to subscribe, like, comment, and share for others too to benefit. Unit 3. A Historical Analysis of Religion and National Development in Nigeria. Contents. 1.0 Introduction. 2.0 Objectives. 3.0 Main Content. 3.1 The Role of Religion in Traditional Africa Society. 3. 1.1 God and the Lesser Gods or Goddesses. 3.2 Religion and Social Stability in Traditional Africa. 3.3 Religion and Economic Development in Traditional Africa. 3.4 Religion and Politics in Traditional Africa. 3.5 Countdown to Organized Religion in Contemporary Nigeria. 3. 5.1 State-Religion Relationships in Nigeria. 3. 5.2 The Mydan Riots. 3. 5.3 Abuja. Home for All. 4.0 Conclusion. 5.0 Summary. 6.0 Tutor-marked assignment. 7.0 References. Further reading. 1.0 Introduction. This unit introduces you to the historical relationship between religion and national development in Nigeria from pre-colonial times till date. 2.0 Objectives. At the end of this unit, you should be able to 1. Explain what religion actually means. 2. Describe the historical tie between religion and national development in Nigeria before and after independence. 3. Evaluate the religion-state relationship in contemporary Nigeria, etc. 3.0 Main Content. 3.1 The Role of Religion in Traditional African Society. Although the exact origins of religions are unknown, there is no doubt that traditional Africa was ultimately religious in character. In traditional African society, religion permeated the superstructure and the basis of the society. For instance, most of the laws governing traditional African society were religiously based. History tells us that in traditional African society, religion not only provided an explanation of how the African peoples came to be what they were, but also provided the social power by which people could make laws and customs, and even ensured that they were respected. Religion helped people to live together in order to express their higher hopes. Therefore, the roles played by religion affected the process and pace of development. Religion also played positive roles in African societies during the pre-colonial era. We can say with confidence that traditional religion contributed to the unity and stability of traditional African societies, and this was a welcome contribution to nation building. In any African traditional religion, God was considered the almighty legislator, the creator of the universe, who was timeless and who guided and watched over the affairs of every individual from above. In Nigeria, for instance, every community had a name for God. He is called Chineke in Igboland, Osanobua in Benin, Olodumare or Olorun in Yorubaland, Ubangidi in Hausaland, Abasi in Efik, Pere in Ijaw country, Oghene in Urhobo and Isokoland. Self-assessment exercise. What role did religion play in traditional African societies? 3. 1.1 God and the Lesser Gods or Goddesses. In almost every traditional society there were lesser gods or goddesses. It was generally held that the Almighty God was too important and remote to concern himself with the affairs of mankind. Thus, any consultation had to pass through the medium of a number of deities and gods or goddesses. As far as Nigeria is concerned, in Yorubaland, for instance, the gods or goddesses were known as Orishas. In Igboland, they were called Ndichie, while in Benin, they were referred to as Olorun. History tells us that these gods or goddesses had their own priests, prophets, and diviners who communicated messages from the people to God and vice versa. Again, they existed alongside with a variety of religious cults and oracles. More so, in most traditional African communities, ancestor worship was very common. Even today, the belief is still existent. In traditional Africa, ancestors were regarded as living, not dead, and they played a major role in the society. According to Pere, 1962, everything that concerns the family, its health and fertility are of interest to the ancestors since they are its elders and will also seek rebirth into the family. The family land is their property, and they must be consulted when land is let out to other people. In traditional Africa, there was not a clear-cut demarcation between the functions of the Almighty God and those of the gods or goddesses. They all took care of every aspect of the people's lives. For instance, there was the god of war, of fertility, of water, the sky, of iron, etc. The idea of lesser gods was very strong in traditional African society because of the belief that they acted faster than the Almighty God, whom according to them is too merciful. Self-assessment exercise. What was the relationship between God and the lesser gods or goddesses in traditional Africa? 3.2 Religion and social stability. In traditional society, there were no written constitutions at all. They adhered to and believed in an unwritten code of conduct guaranteed by the ancestors and the gods or goddesses. That code of conduct defined the good and the bad conduct in the society. History tells us that the social and cultural organization of traditional African society was embedded in religion. Every performance such as marriage, the naming of a newborn child, birth and death ceremonies, and the age grade system were religion-related. The fear and respect for the gods and ancestors were a sine qua non. This contributed immensely to the cohesion and maintenance of social and cultural values in the society. In traditional African society, every marriage, for instance, was contracted with the fear of the ancestors and gods. This belief seriously reduced the rate of divorce. History tells us that in traditional Urhobo society, for instance, divorce was uncommon because they believed that since the ancestors had received the drinks and food given them during the marriage ceremony, it was expected to last forever. It is obvious that in traditional Africa, marriages also contributed to the stability in the whole social structure. Moreover, there were no cases of bastard children in traditional African society. Every child born outside wedlock was integrated into the family. There was no police force in the modern sense of the word in traditional Africa. The gods and ancestors were the only regulators of morality and conduct. Secret societies were also considered as very powerful in traditional African society as they contributed immensely to the social stability. In Nigeria, for instance, there were the Ogboni and the Oro in Yorubaland, the Ekpe and the Leopard Society in Cross River, and the Arochukwu in the Igbo country, the Owegbe in Benin, and the Igboze in the Urhobo land. In pre-colonial Africa, secret cults formed an essential part of the native court government. Self-assessment exercise. Did religion contribute to social stability in traditional Nigerian societies? 3.3 Religion and economic development. You should always remember that religion played very positive roles in the system of production and exchange in pre-colonial Africa. In Nigeria, for instance, almost every factory was established only to satisfy religious needs. For example, carvers were responsible for the production of images of lesser gods and masquerades. Festivals were very frequent in pre-colonial Nigeria. This made carving to become economically very important, especially in the Niger Delta and Igboland. In these regions, carvers had to carve different kinds of masquerades. Still in Igboland, the carvers of Umudioka, for instance, became wealthy from the manufacture of ritual objects and insignia such as ceremonial stools, doors, and panels used by titled men. Besides carving, ritual works and sacrifices demanded and increased the products of pottery workers, blacksmiths, weavers, drummers, and farmers as well. In some places, such as Yorubaland, iron was so important that it was worshipped. Shango was known as the god of iron. Leatherwork was very important in northern Nigeria. The leather was used for the manufacture of mats and bags used by traditional doctors. It was also useful for the manufacture of drums for religious festivals. In Benin, the Oba established the guild system in order to satisfy his religious needs. The standardization of the products and the increase in production led to an accumulation of wealth on the part of the craftsmen. More so, in Nigeria, as in any pre-colonial African society, land was deified. Land was believed to be under the guardianship of the gods. Therefore, it was sacred. This religious African attitude towards land seriously influenced the traditional African economic system. Self-assessment exercise. Discuss the relationship between religion and economy in pre-colonial Nigeria. 3.4 Religion and politics. In traditional African society, religion and politics were interwoven. At that period, according to Basil Davidson, every African lived in an age of faith like the Europe of the Middle Ages, AD 800, 1350. Traditional Africans believed that political authority was an act of God and the spirits. It was beyond human reach. This is evident when you look at the so-called well-established kingdoms and empires which can be regarded as nation-states such as Oyo, Benin, Nupe, Jukun, Kanem-Bornu, and the Hausa. Rulers who combined priestly functions with political power headed all these nation-states. The priest-kings were regarded as representatives of God on earth. They made their people believe that they were supernatural. This is true of the Oba of Benin. There was the belief that the Oba descended from the sky and therefore was divinely ordained to rule the world. This was also the case with the Alafin of Oyo, Aku of Jukun, and Etsu of Nupe. Self-assessment exercise. Discuss the relationship between religion and politics in traditional Nigeria. 3.5 Countdown to Organized Religion in Contemporary Nigeria. You should always remember that before her independence, two organized foreign religions arrived in Nigeria, Christianity and Islam. History tells us that from 1960 onward, almost every Nigerian elite claimed allegiance to either Christianity or Islam. 3. 5.1 State-religion relationship. The intrusion of Christianity and Islam into an independent Nigeria put the country in a complex situation. The supreme law under which the country operated was the Nigerian Independence Constitution of 1960 as amended by the 1963 Republican Constitution. It was very clear from these documents that Nigeria was a secular state, that is, the affairs of state must not be mixed with religion. Religious belief and worship were to remain strictly personal. Unfortunately, this could not hold for a long time. For instance, Nigeria's Second Republic was inaugurated amidst certain fears, especially the fear of religious wars. Nigeria became the battlefield of Christianity and Islam. 3. 5.2 The Mydan riots. Kano is best known as the hotbed of the Islamic intellectualism, radicalism, and agitations. From Kano in 1980, members of the Mydan Islamic sect struck, killing and destroying everything in their way. That baptism of religious war has continued to hunt Nigeria as a ghost ever since. Although there have been many other religious conflicts in Nigeria, history tells us that the Mydan riots were attempts by an Islamic sect to force its ideas on an unwilling society. This created the feeling that Nigerians are not free to hold different religious views. Therefore, persons from particular parts of the country and adherents of certain faiths felt unwelcome and unsafe in some other parts of Nigeria. It is obvious that such attitudes negatively influenced the process of national integration and development in Nigeria. 3. 5.3 Abuja, Home for All. Abuja is Nigeria's new capital city. It was baptized Home for All and viewed as a symbol of national unity. However, the challenge between Christianity and Islam led some Nigerian scholars to criticize Abuja's capability to unite the various peoples and faiths of Nigeria. For instance, according to them, the main entrances into Abuja have Islamic and not national symbols. The presidential villa was equipped with a mosque only. With this scenario, the feeling is being created that Nigeria is not a secular state. The letter and spirit of the national constitution are being violated. The usual use of religion as a weapon of winning support from majority of the citizenry by Nigerian rulers without due regard to the consequences for national psyche is quite alarming. In 1986, for instance, Ibrahim Babangida attempted to smuggle Nigeria into the Organization of Islamic Conference, OIC, without the knowledge of either his Armed Forces Ruling Council or his cabinet. Although the attempt failed, it did not stop the feeling of us versus them. Unlike the pre-colonial Nigeria, it is apparent that for modern and contemporary Nigeria, religious cohabitation seems to be a monumental failure. Christianity and Islam, as the only viable organized religions, have shown themselves incapable of changing the moral tones of the larger society. It is unfortunate to notice that although average Nigerian elite is an adherent of one religion or the other, yet he fails to see the relationship between religious piety and public morality. Hence, the relationship between religion and state in contemporary Nigeria is a paradox. It is common in Nigeria to see that people known to have subverted public morality are sometimes honored with religious titles. Religious groups are eager to receive donations from whosoever without investigating the sources of wealth of the donor, thus making dubiousness an accepted norm. Self-assessment exercises. In contemporary Nigeria, as religion is concerned, what do you know about the Mydan riots and Abuja Home for All? 4.0 Conclusion. This study unit has dealt with the analysis and understanding of the relationship between religion and national development in Nigeria from pre-colonial times till date. It is clear to you now that the type of relationship between religion and the state in traditional Nigeria is different from what is happening today. 5.0 Summary. In this study unit, I introduced you to the analysis and understanding of the relationship between religion and national development in Nigeria from a historical perspective. Therefore, at the end of this unit, you are expected to 1. Explain what religion actually means. 2. Describe the historical ties between religion and national development in Nigeria. 3. Discuss the relationship between religion and national development in Nigeria before and after independence. 4. Evaluate the religion-state relationship in contemporary Nigeria, etc. 6.0 Tutor-marked assignment. The religion-state relationship in traditional Nigeria is different from what is happening today. Discuss.